An insult isn't merely an insult, it's a small probe, a sharp jab that tests your reaction. Most guys can't help but respond instinctively, like animals protecting their turf. They might raise their voice or try to defend themselves, wanting to prove they're not what the other person claims. In those moments, the balance of power shifts. The one throwing the insult isn't seeking to be right, they're aiming for control, seeing how strong your emotional discipline is and how much you crave approval. Here's the deal, rude people don't just toss words around, they throw hooks. If you take the bait, they pull you in. If you push back, they take charge. If you defend yourself, you give them the upper hand. Machiavelli would call it what it really is, an opportunity disguised as an insult. When someone insults you, they're revealing their intentions, be it dominance, attention, superiority, or just some twisted entertainment at your cost. Your main job isn't to win the argument, it's to keep your own standing intact, unshaken and composed. The guy who can be easily provoked can also be easily controlled, and that means he's already lost, even if he seems to come out on top in that moment. From this point on, stop reacting out of a bruised ego. Start responding like a strategist. Don't rush to speak or to defend yourself. Take a moment to observe, assess, and decide. An insult gives you information about who they are, what they want, and their way of fighting. When you start to see it as data instead of a personal attack, you become powerful, calm, quiet, untouchable. The psychology behind these insults is simple, they're after status. Rude people aren't insulting you for kicks, they're attempting to gain something, status, control, or relief from their own insecurities. A man feeling small often tries to make someone else feel even smaller. That's not philosophy, that's just human nature at its worst and most predictable. An insult is a transaction. They offer a few hurtful words to get a reaction from you. If you respond with anger or embarrassment, you're effectively funding their confidence. You're giving power to someone who hasn't earned it. Dark psychology reveals that many insults are just projections of the insulter's fears. They call you stupid because they feel inadequate or soft because they're terrified of being seen as weak. They label you a nobody because they're struggling with their own identity, needing an enemy to feel significant. Sometimes, it's not even insecurity, it's about performance. In groups, insults can turn into a show, meant to get laughs, assert dominance, or climb the social ladder, often at your expense. Their goal isn't to talk to you, it's to use you as a prop in their story where they come out on top. Then you have the real predators who test boundaries to see if they can control you, starting with small acts of disrespect and escalating from there. Each time you let it slide, you teach them how much they can get away with. They're mapping your limits, looking for the moment when you give in to emotion. And abandon strategy. This is why you should never take insults at face value. The surface noise masks the true intention. Ask yourself quietly, what are they trying to wrest from me? Attention, fear, submission, or chaos? When you perceive the motive, you stop feeling attacked and start recognizing a script. Once you can read the script, you gain control over the scene. Pause like a predator. The first rule is tough, don't react immediately. When an insult hits, your body may instinctively want to respond, your chest tightens, your face flushes, and your ego kicks in like a guard dog. That's the trap. Your nervous system wants to fight their battle on their terms, so flip the script. Instead, pause, but not awkwardly, pause in a controlled manner, just long enough to take the edge off their momentum. Let them feel their words linger in the air without any reward. Maintain a relaxed posture, shoulders down, jaw loose, eyes calm. Don't rush into a smile to ease things over, nor should you leap into aggression to prove a point. Both reactions show they got to you. Your expression should convey one message, I heard you, and it doesn't change a thing. Silence isn't weakness when it's a choice. It's pressure, it forces them to sit with their actions. Most rude people are dependent on your feedback, needing your reaction like air. Starve them of that. Let the silence stretch until it's noticeable. When you finally speak, do it slowly and softly, not from nervousness, but because you're in charge. Don't match their energy, downgrade it. Make their aggression look petty compared to your calm. Here's the psychological kicker, whoever controls the tempo holds the power. Fast equals emotional, while slow means deliberate. When you take that pause, you're doing what many men never figure out, separating your identity from the insult. You refuse to let someone else's words dictate your emotional state. That's how you become untouchable. By not reacting in haste and not getting caught up in their game, you become a steady presence. If they realize they can't rattle you, their confidence crumbles. Because the one thing an insulter can't handle is someone who doesn't need to react to assert their strength. The mirror technique is your ally. Reflect their energy back with clarity, not emotion. Your goal is straightforward: expose their behavior for what it is and make them lose dignity over it. Don't argue about the content of their insult. Instead, ask them, was that meant to disrespect me? Then silence. Let them respond. If they joke, don't laugh. If they dodge, press them for a clear answer. If they reply with a weak, "I'm just being honest," cut that excuse off. Honesty isn't the same as disrespect. You're establishing rules that govern how they interact with you. In Machiavelli's world, appearances matter, and your appearance is one of composure. When you stay composed, their attack becomes a reflection of their character. Either they correct their behavior, or they expose their true selves. You never throw an insult back first. That pulls you down to their level. Let them be the messy ones while you maintain your integrity. If consequences arise, everyone will remember who had control and who was begging for attention. Use the scalpel method, where one concise line finishes it. The longer you talk, the more power you bleed. Boundaries aren't negotiations, they're declarations. So when someone crosses a line, don't debate it, name it and set the price. Look them in the eye and state, "Don't speak to me like that," then stop. No lectures, no anger, just calm authority. If they smirk and try again, tighten it, "I said don't." If they push again, introduce consequences without emotion. If you continue, this conversation is over. When they do continue, and some will, follow through immediately. Turn away, remove your attention, walk away. That follow-through is your strongest weapon. Words are cheap, action signifies status. Here's the core Machiavellian principle: you have to be prepared to lose the interaction to win the position. Many men stick around and trade insults out of fear of looking weak, but a man with true power doesn't need to stay and prove himself. He can walk away. You should never feel the need to explain your boundaries, either. That sounds like begging for agreement. You don't need agreement, you need compliance. Keep it surgical: one line to stop the disrespect, one line to warn, and one decisive action to end it. This teaches the insulter a painful lesson: they need to abide by your rules if they want access to you. For sharper impact, ask a question that freezes: do you treat everyone like this, or just those you think you can control? Say it softly, almost like a diagnosis, then let the silence hang. You're rewriting the power dynamic. In Machiavelli's world, mercy without strength invites abuse, strength without noise earns respect. Your calmness should be the threat, your self-control the warning, and your ability to walk away the punishment. When it comes to public versus private insults, keep in mind they are different battles. Public insults are more about theatrics, meant to get laughs and attention. Private ones are about control, shifting the power dynamic between two people. Therefore, don't respond the same way in both scenarios. That's how you get embarrassed twice, once by the insult and again by how you react. In public, aim to maintain your status without making a scene. Don't overreact or over-explain. Use minimal words and maximum composure. A calm look, a brief pause, then a simple line that puts them in their place: "That's an interesting thing to say," or "That was uncalled for." Keep it short and precise. This tells everyone that you're above their circus act, and they're the clowns. If the circumstances permit, you can use humor as a subtle jab. But keep it dry, not goofy or desperate. Something like, "You rehearsed that, didn't you?" and move on quickly. The key is to keep moving, don't linger, waiting for their next dig. Redirect the conversation, shift the attention, and starve them of the oxygen they crave. In private interactions, tighten your boundaries more aggressively, as there's no audience to manage, only a relationship to define. Be direct. State, "Speak to me respectfully, or this conversation is over." If they soften it with, "I'm just being honest," cut through that nonsense. Honesty is not an excuse for disrespect. Publicly, work on your image; privately, protect your territory. Remember the Machiavellian truth: the person willing to walk away without explanation holds all the leverage. When people realize your attention isn't a given, they'll learn to treat you carefully, or risk losing you altogether. When it comes to reputation warfare, it's about winning in the long run, not in the moment. You don't win every battle on the spot, you win when the dust settles. When the emotions die down and the truth comes to light, that's when reputation warfare happens. Machiavelli understood that the battlefield that truly matters is what people remember, not what they say in the heat of the moment. When someone repeatedly insults you, don't just respond with a clever comeback and expect it to end. Start keeping track. Notice the patterns: who's present, what gets said, how often, who laughs, who falls silent. Rude people thrive on confusion and speed. Beat them with clarity and time. Keep your hands clean. Stay composed in the heat of the moment, then step off stage where real power lies. Quietly discuss the issue with those who matter: supervisors, mutual friends, decision-makers, anyone who can control access and opportunities. Present it not as a victim, but as someone reporting a pattern that's damaging the environment. This is happening, here are the examples. I'm not arguing, I'm setting a boundary. You never smear, rant, or plead for sympathy. Present the facts like a judge, and time your approach like a strategist. Consequences hit hardest when they arrive cold, not in anger. Also, recognize that you don't need everyone to like you. You need your reputation to be untouchable, calm, consistent, and reliable. When you maintain control and others stay rude, people will start to naturally distinguish between you. Their behavior becomes their confession, yours becomes your authority. That's the long game, letting them damage their own credibility while you protect yours. When the time comes to cut access, do it discreetly without any drama. Deny favors, end conversations, and close doors, all done quietly and without fuss. That's the essence of Machiavellian power. The punishment is real, but your demeanor remains calm. Emotional immunity comes from killing the trigger within you. Insults sting not because of the words, but because they hit a sore spot in you that still seeks validation, a bruise you pretend isn't there. That's why two men can hear the same insult and react differently. One blows up, while the other doesn't even flinch. The insult isn't the real weapon, the trigger is. To become untouchable, you don't just learn to respond, you eliminate the triggers and stop relying on strangers for your self-worth. Many men carry their reputations like glass, easily cracked by any rude comment. But a powerful man is like stone, not numb, but grounded. He knows who he is and who gets to define that identity. Here's the tough psychological truth: people who insult are trying to create a narrative about you, and your ego panics, fearing their story might stick. But you control that narrative through your actions, not your arguments. When you remain calm, you send a silent message: this doesn't define me. When you react emotionally, you give it life. Train your nervous system to act as a weapon. The moment you feel your anger rising, label it ego. When you feel the need to explain, label it approval addiction. When revenge calls out to you, identify it impulsiveness. Then, choose discipline. One breath, one pause, one composed response. That tiny space between the stimulus and your reaction is where your true power lies. This is how you become dangerous, by mastering your internal battles. Once insults cease to affect your emotions, people lose the ability to manipulate you. They can still speak and mock, but they can't move you. A man who is unmovable cannot be defeated. He becomes the calm center of any situation, setting the standard. He becomes untouchable, not because nobody tries, but because nothing sticks. The code of the untouchable man is now your guide. You're living by a code, not fleeting motivation or emotions. Rude individuals will test you repeatedly, on your difficult days, your exhausted days, your distracted days. You need rules that work even when you're feeling weak. Rule 1: never explain yourself to someone being disrespectful. Explanation feels like asking for approval. Rule 2: never trade insults. That puts you on their level and ruins your image. Rule 3: never react quickly. Speed is emotional, and emotion offers them leverage. Rule 4: reward respect. If someone corrects themselves, allow that calmly. It teaches how to handle you. Rule 5: punish disrespect with distance, not drama. Short responses, less access. End the conversation or leave. Rule 6: speak in fewer words than they do. Verbose men seem defensive. Sparse talker sounds certain. Rule 7: set boundaries early while the disrespect is still minor. Small disrespect turns into larger disrespect if tolerated. Rule 8: control your facial expressions. Your face is a billboard. Don't showcase injury or anger. Instead, project calm. Rule 9. Choose your battlefield wisely. Public interactions need composure, while private ones require directness and consequences. Rule 10. Remember Machiavelli's truth. Power isn't in what you say but in what happens after. If there are no consequences for your boundaries, it's just theater. If your boundary is followed by action, it becomes law. This code shapes you into a person who invites careful attention, not because you're loud, but because you're consistent. Your focus becomes precious. Your calmness isn't weakness, it's control. Control is what every rude person is trying to snatch from you, but they can only take it if you give it away. So, hold on to it until it becomes your identity. Final transformation. Start living like your dignity doesn't hinge on others' whims. Stop letting invisible strings connect you to every mouth in the room. That's how most men get played. They call it respect, but it's just being malleable. One rude person hits the right button, and suddenly your demeanor changes, your voice amplifies, and your logic vanishes. From now on, be colder. Be the one who determines the temperature, who establishes the rules silently through actions. When someone insults you, don't rush to prove your strength. Showcase your untouchability by not being dragged into their games. Pause, observe, and let them feel the weight of their own words. Reflect with calm, pointed questions that reveal their motivations. Draw the line with a precise, impactful sentence. If they step over it again, don't argue, just cut off access. Access is a currency, and disrespectful people don't deserve wealth. Embrace the Machiavellian lesson: the world doesn't care about feelings. It respects consequences. A man who talks about respect but tolerates disrespect is just inviting more tests. In contrast, a composed man who is willing to walk away becomes valuable. People can sense it, in the pause, in your steady gaze, in the absence of justification, in knowing you don't need to win in the moment because you control the long game. You don't need applause, you need understanding, that your attention isn't free, your peace isn't negotiable, and your presence is a privilege, not an obligation. Once you adopt this mindset, insults morph into mere background noise. They signify that the other person is emotionally undisciplined, insecure, or seeking a reaction like a starving animal. Don't hate them, don't fear them. Just see them for who they are. And when you achieve that clarity, they lose their power to catch you off guard. That's what being untouchable truly entails: clarity combined with control. Here's your final task. Next time someone tries to provoke you, don't think about how to respond. Instead, ask yourself, what does my response teach them about me? Every reaction is a lesson. Teach them that you're calm. Teach them that disrespect gains nothing. Teach them that your boundaries are real. Teach them that you can walk away. Teach them that you won't negotiate your self-respect. If you want to solidify this identity, adopt a phrase that becomes your mantra, something you live by. Comment this exact phrase: my silence is control. Let that be your vow. Let that guide you when your ego urges you to jump. My silence is control. If this resonates with your desire for change, you already know what to do next. Like the video, subscribe, and turn on notifications for the next lesson that will refine you even more.